Check this out. Yes, J-Doc, CJ, and V the Gorilla. They call us alternative, yeah, cause we ain't vanilla. We got the hard-hitting facts coming out that vanilla. For the truth that the media's afraid of the real. So check the statement of the deep state. Yeah, they faked it. Mainstream news pulled the cover up as sacred. Everybody hates it, but who's the one to face it? It's woke news to expose truth to the nation. Yo, who the ones that are not afraid to speak the truth? Educate the youth, exposing lies and who they listen to. Hey, they want to call collusion, you ain't got the proof. Who? A lot of people lying now, but what they got to lose? Yeah, but we're not like that. Only interested in facts, making sure we get it right on the trust of the mass. Population's only strong when liberty's intact. And as a wise man said, if it's not, it will last. It was George Washington, by the way.
CJ, I want you to do this morning introduction this morning. I just want you to do it.
Huh? You mean to do the introduction? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Rogue Mornings. It's CJ and V. And as you can tell, we're just ecstatic to be here on this cold, very cold Midwest morning. I think it's about 30 or 40 degrees difference this morning. But I want to thank everyone for listening in. Tune in. Do me a favor. Make sure you check out our sponsors. Jump over to mycbdedibles.com. Check it out. No great deals going on right now, but here in the next week or two, we're going to be coming up with some great promotional offers. Really excited about also some new products that are going to be launching soon, some collaborations that we're really excited to share. So stay tuned right there. Also jump over to remaincom.net. If you need help with any type of funding program, starting a new business, perhaps you're going to take advantage of the falling crypto prices, gold, who knows, go over to remaincom.net where they can help you with your funding. Check it out, V and Frank over there. And then also don't forget about the Watch Us Trade Room. The guys did a great show yesterday detailing out what they see coming around the corner. So if you're not involved with it, jump over with Z and Cowboy. They spend a lot of time and energy, some of the best in the industry, detailing out the crypto markets for entertainment purposes only. But check them out over at the Watch Us Trade Room. V, I think that they're still working on the new website. So for now,
it's up now, man.
It's up now. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I will update the link so that way everyone is ready for it. So V, good morning. How you doing?
I am doing good, my friend. I'm doing quite well. Yeah, we're running a special in the Watch Us Trade Room. Everything we've been talking about for Bitcoin for the last several months right now, since we launched the damn trading room back in April, May, end of April, early May is when we started it. It's been fantastic. We've been spot on. My sources have been spot on. And then me being able to jump into the OTC market where I'm seeing big, major moves. We saw this whole entire thing coming. So now it's a great time, folks. It's about, positioning yourself. CJ, I'm going to send you the link. I'm going to put it in the Hangouts chat box. So this way you'll have it. This is the new updated link. It's a special running 25% off for a 6-month deal. 25% off for a 6-month deal. You could pay that with BTC. If you got Bitcoins, you want to come on in, now's the time. It's going to be, $13.54 for 6 months of trading. That's sick. That's insane. It's grotesque. What a deal that is. So, if you want to position yourself so you can, shoot to the moon, hey, now's the time to do it, folks. Now's the time. Don't delay. Don't make haste. Don't make haste. Make haste and make it happen for yourself. Siege, with that being said, man, we got a lot of things to cover. Okay, we got a lot of things to cover. Where do you want to start first?
I think we need to talk a little bit around the markets, and I think where that money, the flight of money may be leaving the market and going to. But obviously, in terms of the number of points lost, it was a pretty significant day. But when you're talking it based upon percentages, the market's so high right now that the percentages are minimal. However, you cannot ignore the amount of points that the markets lost yesterday, V.
Oh, absolutely correct, man. Last night I went on and did a guerrilla update. For those of you who were able to catch it, I spoke about some of the tech sell-offs. I spoke about the things that are happening in the market and the positionings, and the things that I've been talking about this for a while. Charles Hugh Smith of Two Minds blog has been talking about it for a while as well. He wrote about it, and one of the things I've detailed, and as well as he, is that listen, look, when you begin to chase a yield and the yields don't give no more, you got to put your money somewhere. And I said one of the things that you have to see is that people are going to be jumping out of the bond market. They got to go somewhere. They're going to be going into the stock market. They're going to be going into commodities like AKA gold. They're going to be going into what? Cryptocurrencies. And isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that the recent beatdown in gold also coincides with the recent beatdown in Bitcoin? And now it's also now we're seeing that beatdown occurring in the bloody Dow Jones, in the NASDAQ, in the Russell 2000, in the S&P. You're seeing beatdowns happening everywhere. Why is the beatdowns happening? You're going to have people out there saying, I've tracked the dog star as it crossed the Pleiadian galaxy. And when I charted the track of Uranus and found out that Uranus is closer to the sun than it normally is, then I realized that at that very juncture that we're heading for an October market crash. And there are literally people that are on YouTube, that are on podcasts, that are on websites that are spreading all sorts of FUD. And all it is bloody FUD. Ain't no market crash. I even told you folks, ain't nothing happening this year. Relax, have fun. Probably not even next year either. Just relax, have fun. We're not there yet. We're not near to any sort of crash because we're not going to crash down. We're going to blow up, if you know what I'm saying. Right? One of the things that I've coined is a terminology called monetary hypoxia. Now, if you've been mountain climbing or you've been in high altitude situations, you know what hypoxia is all about. Well, when monetary hypoxia, a term that yours truly has coined, monetary hypoxia occurs when the dollar or said currency goes higher and higher and higher in value, but there is no liquidity to sustain it. Therefore, it dies a very painful death. It dies a death of liquidity being drained out of it. The very life force of what makes it tick is drained out of it, and it dies. Okay? So we are nowhere near that as of yet. We're nowhere near that. No, we are on the way. Okay, we are on the highway, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So when I look at the pullbacks, I don't see, oh my God, it's a market crash of the century. No, what I'm seeing is the positioning of a century. You are seeing players, and big players are not going to get involved in equities. If you got major players in the bond market, which is twice the size of the stock market, and they said, hey, you know what? We're done with the bond market. We need to exit slowly without causing the whole entire system, the entire dollar cabal that keeps the whole entire thing going, the entire dollar system, which put food in our mouth, which puts Bentleys and Gulf G5 aircraft in our garages. We don't want to cut the hand. We want to keep the Ponzi scheme going as much as possible. So we're going to gingerly exit out of the bond market, but we're not going to come into the stock market. If the stock market is at 26, 27,000 points, we're not going to come in. We like 23. We like 25. We like 24. We like 21. Heck, we even go for 19 or 18. And folks, remember what I told you. The market could sell off 5,000 points. 5,000 points. And it'll still be in a bull market. It'll still be in a bull market. So everybody out there saying, the collapse. This is the side. I see it. 10 sigma. 12 sigma. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Look at it. Look at it. Don't believe him. Don't believe him. Ain't nothing happening. What you're seeing is positioning. So what I tell everybody, anybody who's trading stocks, and this ain't financial advice, this is just purely entertainment. I would always say BTFD, buy the friggin' dip. Buy the friggin' dip. Gold, smash $1,200. BTFD, baby. BTFD all day, every day. Okay? All day, every day. Cryptos, slammed. BTFD. Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, the FANG stocks, the tech stocks. The four horsemen of the apocalypse, so to speak. Right? BTFD. Their stocks are down. Buy it. Buy it. I'll buy their stupid stock. Dude, CJ knows this probably more than anybody else. I hate Tesla. But I'm going to short the crap out of this stock. Again, this ain't financial advice. This is telling you just purely entertainment. I don't mind. This is what I do. I don't mind shorting the hell out of Tesla. I don't mind shorting the hell out of any of these stocks. Why? Because it's to my leverage. Leverage is all about. It's pragmatic. It's a game. It's us against them, folks. Do you get it? It's you against the system. And if the system's giving you loopholes and levers and advantages, and it's showing you its belly here and there, you better take a stab at it. You better take, because this thing called life, there's no dress rehearsals in life. You get one shot at this. Life's a brutal, brutal thing, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for those who are not cunning. You have to be cunning. You have to be cunning. You have to understand this. The world and its systems are not there to make you feel good. They're not your friends. They don't have your best interest in mind. So anytime the system rolls over and shows you its underbelly, anytime the system rolls over and shows you a loophole, you better stab that son of a bitch. You better take advantage of it. You better grab it. Somebody's hearing me out there. Somebody gets what I'm saying. Dow continues to drop 500 points as October rout continues. Tech stock slide lead the slide. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 820 points lower as Intel and Microsoft fell more than 3.5%. NASDAQ Composite plummeted 4%. S&P 500. Everybody getting beat down all around. Stocks have fallen sharply this month for the October S&P, and the Dow are down 4.4%, 3.3% respectively. NASDAQ is down 7.5%. Rising rates. And a pivot out of technology stocks have made it rough the last few days. The Dow has dropped 4 of the last 5 sessions, losing nearly 900 points over that span. So what does that mean? What does that mean? You tell me what does it mean. You've been listening to me for some time now. You know what I'm saying. You folks know exactly what I'm going to say. And Siege, we need to have the t-shirts printed, Siege. We need to have the t-shirts printed. Dow 29 hashtag Dow 29K, baby. Hashtag Dow 29K. Get ready. Get ready. That's where it's going. And that's what this whole entire thing is about. Now, you got the Fed raising the rates. And people are like, oh, okay, it's the beginning of the end. No. It's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. See, the dollar is sustained more than one way. Number one way it's sustained is through financial gimmicks. It's through financial accounting gymnastics. That's one of the way the dollar is kept afloat, by fake, false, and fictitious reporting of metrics and numbers. Okay. Number 2, it's through bond fraud. It's through various carry trades. It's through negative feedback loops. It's through the repurchasing order market. It's through various financial instruments, IR swaps, LIBOR, oil. All of these things are what? Designed for what? Keeping the mischief engine going. That's what this whole entire thing is, folks. Keeping the dollar Ponzi going. Okay? So you think I'm dissuaded because all of a sudden, there's a drop off? You think I'm dissuaded because the Fed is pumping? They're like, going crazy. And let's bring that up real quick. Let's bring that up. Okay, this is from our buddies over at Zero Hedge. Trump blames Powell. I think the Fed has gone crazy after sell-off. After a 1,000-point plunge of the Dow, President Trump has found a scapegoat. After the White House put out a calming statement below, President Trump told reporters that it's the correction that we've been waiting for a long time. And once again, no, Donald, the correction hasn't even begun. We're far away from a correction. No, this is a slight pullback. But this is for, again, he's saying things for mass consumption, for the average American who doesn't understand diddly when it comes to economics. And once again, Trump was not shy about criticizing or scapegoating Jay Powell. Jay Powell, the guy that he put in. The Fed has gone crazy, he told reporters on Wednesday as he arrived in Pennsylvania for a campaign rally. So you can say that, well, that's a lot of safety, actually, and it's a lot of safety, and it gives you a lot of margins. But I think the Fed has gone crazy. I think the Fed is making a mistake. They're so tight, Trump said, adding that he really disagrees with the Fed raising interest rates. As we noted earlier, what better justification could Trump have to push Powell and to accuse him of the second worst sell-off in 2018? Every time there's a sell-off, what happens? We're reaching newer and newer highs. Earlier, the White House press secretary Sarah Sanders said in a statement following the close of the markets that the U.S. economy is still incredibly strong, despite the sell-off, which analysts attributed to part trade tensions with China. And of course, if the economy was indeed so strong, then the Fed is likely behind the curve and has to hike even more. But the nuance was lost on the president, who is now just setting the stage for Powell to become the fall guy when stocks crash. What a difference weeks make. It was just October 3rd that Trump, gloating the warm and glow of a new all-time high S&P, tweeted that the stock market has reached an all-time high during my administration for the 102nd time, a presidential record by far, for less than 2 years. So much potential as trade and military deals are completed, right? And now we see just a little sell-off from the Dow, and everybody's just literally losing their crap. Okay. It has everything to do with propping the dollar. When you prop the dollar, when you got an artificial fake economic system like what we got, you have to know how to jigger the markets. You have to know how to jigger the very toxic asset that keeps you afloat, which is the dollar. So you're going to release some pressures. You see, there's been a bubble in the bond market for the last several decades. I'd say at least a good 20 years. There's been a bubble in the bond market, a bubble that's never really rectified. We've seen in the last 18 to 20 years, we've seen numerous reversals, corrections, bubbles pop in the stock and equity markets. Bond markets have been pretty damn stable. It's been a surefire bet. But now that pressure valve has to get released. How do you release the pressure valve? Well, in order for you to release the pressure valve on the broad market a little bit and get more liquidity back into the market and get people into other quote-unquote safe harbors that keep the dollar afloat because nobody's buying the damn bonds anymore, you got to jack up the interest rate. You got to jack up the interest rate, which provides a pretext proof for quote-unquote investors to flock into where? Stocks. They want to take on equities. They're going to go into commodities. They're going to go into digital assets, currencies like Bitcoin. Do you think it's coincidence, folks, that the equities market got beat, the cryptocurrency market got beat, the commodities market was taking a hit, gold and silver taking a hit? You think it's coincidence? I mean, you don't honestly think we got a free market running. You don't honestly think that this is some sort of unrigged game. This is completely rigged from the foundation to the topmost stone. See what's happening around you. You're seeing a repositioning. We're seeing a repositioning. CJ.
Well, I think the biggest risk is primarily the political risk, right? I mean, Trump has taken complete ownership of the market, touting it as that, this is his direct efforts, that this is the result of his election. So I think that's the biggest risk. And I completely agree with your assessment. There are a few cracks that we do need to monitor and watch closely. One of which is with Ford's recent announcement. And Ford is one of the companies, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, B, that did not need a bailout during the 2008 crisis. Is that correct? So Ford now is announcing it plans a massive layoff after losing close to $1 billion in sales directly due to Trump's trade tariffs. So this comes to us. Ford is having a bad year in 28. Its stock is down 29%. And the tariffs imposed by President Trump have reportedly cost the company $1 billion as the company has missed a reorganization now that the company is announcing layoffs. Jim Hackett, Ford CEO, is working to engineer a $25.5 billion restructuring of the automaker, hoping to cut costs and remain competitive. So this is being reported by the Wall Street Journal as well. A global headcount reduction of approximately 12%, or about 24,000 for 202,000 workers globally. So again, this is just the start. I would definitely consider this a trade war blowback, similar to the soybeans and Trump having to bail out the farmers, the soy farmers. So this is something to keep our eye on, again, especially as we keep going to 2020. And Ford, who was, fiscally responsible going to 2008, what do they see? What are their considerations for this and, restructuring that massive amount of operating expenses? We all know that labor is probably the most expensive. They're structuring back. We'll see if any other companies have any announcements going forward as well.
Interesting. I'm reading through this whole entire thing. Very interesting. How much of it is actually on the trade tariffs, and how much of it is actually poor planning? I'll give you an example. If you folks remember, a couple of months ago, almost a year ago, Ford announced that they're going to stop making cars. And people freaked out because they just read the headline like, oh my God, did you hear this? Ford's not going to make cars anymore. That means they're going out of business. But if you read the full article, you'd see that Ford has decided that, hey, you know what? We need to switch gears. Everybody wants crossovers. And if you look at the market trends, every car is selling poorly. The big sales leaders like your Toyota Camrys, your Honda Accords, they're not faring as well as they typically do. In every segment, there's been a shift in buyer preference. Everybody's buying crossovers, except me. Me. I have the need for speed, so you wouldn't catch me dead in one of those things. If I do drive it, it's not mine; it's my wife's. That's it. But the point of the matter is, everybody's driving crossovers. Ford realizes, hey, you know what? They have a massive glut of cars that are not moving. They spent an obscene amount of money on the Ford Fusion. In Europe, it's called the Ford Mondeo for all the European listeners, the Mondeo. Over here, we call it the Fusion. They spent an inordinate amount of money on the Ford Focus. A lot of money on the redesigned and improved Taurus. And they have the F-150. If you look at Ford's crossover segment, they're not doing that great. The Explorer, it's all right. It's tepid. Tepid in sales. What else they got? The Escape, it's all right. Then they got the large SUV that, whatever, Expedition. Even though the 2018 Expedition, I think it's absolutely stunning. The product planning is more of a damage to them than anything else. Well, hell, they're not even selling as much Mustangs as they usually typically do. And most of the sales for Ford cars, as they always relied upon, were these rental outlets, your Enterprises, your Avis, your pay whatever, pay less, whatever, auto rentals, budget. I'm sorry. Yeah. Budget car, all that crap. Right. That was their biggest thing. But even then, people, even in the rental world, if they can rent a crossover, they do. Hell, every time I vacation, I've always rented a crossover. It's easier on the family. You got to haul stuff. You got to put bags in. It just winds up being easier. So how much of this is actually poor product planning? Because even in the 2008, in 2008 was a pretty interesting situation. You had General Motors, God knows what the heck they're doing. They got 1,000,001 divisions. You all remember that. They had Pontiac, they had Saturn, they had Buick, they had Chevy, they had Hummer, they had GMC, they had, the list goes on and on and on. They had way too, and they did the worst job brand engineering. And they folded because of that. Ford people say, well, Ford didn't ask for a bailout. You're right. Ford didn't ask for a bailout. But guess what? Were they financially healthy? Were they a robust company in 2008? Hell to the no. Hell to the no. In 2008, they didn't even know if they were going to make the redesigned Mustang that was supposed to be coming out, which was pushed eventually to, I think, the 2014 or 15 model year. They had no crossovers anywhere. They had a crappy Explorer. The product line was dismal. But what stopped them from getting a bailout? Well, Alan Mulally, the CEO of Ford at that time, brilliant guy. Alan Mulally, the guy who saved Boeing. Why do you think Alan Mulally wound up in Ford? Alan Mulally wound up in Ford because they were in trouble. They were already in trouble. Bill Ford Jr. begged him to come over because Alan Mulally is known as the guy you call in to save companies. He saved Boeing. He's going to save Ford. So when Mulally came into Ford prior to 2008, he already was hacking jobs. He already was ending projects. He already was slashing budgets. He already was eliminating lines of cars. Ford 500, bye-bye. Ford, Freelander, whatever. I forgot the name of the stupid those station wagon crap that was based on the 500. Bye-bye. Ford Windstar, bye-bye. Then no more minivans. Unprofitable. Alan Mulally hacked so many platforms. He was a hatchet man. And then what he did after he began hatcheting what was unnecessary and then shoring up what was fruitful and actually beneficial for the company, what did he do? I believe he took a multi-billion-dollar line of credit on the company. Then we've entered, voila, out of nowhere, the 2008 stock market crash, the financial collapse of 2008. Everybody died. Chrysler, we don't know what was going to happen with Chrysler. The Italians had to come in. Fixing the Antoni Fiat had to come in and save Chrysler. GM had to go through bankruptcy and restructuring, and they had to come out with a plan to show these government idiots what they have, and these government idiots who don't know nothing about cars had to give the rubber stamp of approval to GM. But Ford survived. Not because they were financially healthy, but because they were already in a restructure. They were already running lean. They already had a line of credit for multiple billions of dollars ready. They were good to go. So they didn't need a government bailout. They wouldn't have gotten one if they asked for it. It wouldn't have fit the criteria. And then what happened? So after the financial collapse, Ford is still there. They launched a few products. Mulally did his thing and he left. But what happened is that while competitors, GM, look at GM. They got a damn crossover in every segment. Toyota, same thing. Toyota's like, hey, we can't rely on this Camry thing. Nobody's buying it anymore. The sales have gone less. Let's have. I mean, my God, they got a crossover in every segment, in every size. Honda's doing the same thing. It's no longer just the CRV. You got the CRV, you got the HRV, you got the Pilot. It's crazy. Ford don't have that. And plus, you got Lincoln, which is flailing out there in the wind. It's like the Cadillac that nobody wants. Mercury, remember Mercury? Mulally got rid of Mercury. Remember Ford, Lincoln, Mercury? Gone. No more Mercury. The stupid brand engineering ended right there. So a lot of that waste was still there. So when you read an article like this, folks, Ford is now blaming this guy who is Jim Hackett. I mean, let's look up Jim Hackett real quick, right? Jim Hackett. Hackett. Democrat. Let's find this out, okay? Jim Hackett. Yep, he's a Democrat. That's what it says here. Hold on, I'm just gonna 1 second. You know, Jim Hackett joined the Automakers board. Jim Hackett. I believe Hackett is a Democrat. Says something about DNC here. Well, anyway, if he's not a Democrat, then I'll stand corrected. But the point is this: how much of this article is actually a political hit story? I'm sure the tariffs have affected the steel, but guess what? Most cars, the best-selling car that Ford produces is a pickup truck called the F-150, and that's built using aluminum. That's not even on the tariff thing. The best, most profitable, the profit margins they make on an F-150 is like fivefold what they would make on a typical car. And that's aluminum. The entire damn truck is built on aluminum. So how much is this a political hit piece? And I'm sure I'm not discounting the fact that the trade tariff is affecting steel price. I'm not discounting that, but to say that you had $1 billion loss and you're going to blame it on a tariff, that your stock collapsed 30%, you're going to blame it on a trade tariff? No. Mismanaged company, crappy products, poor marketing, poor product placement. You're not selling crap. You're hemorrhaging. That's what did you in, Hackett. And that's what's going on in Ford, folks. But again, it's the optics, just like what CJ said. It's the optics, because the average American can't break it down just like what I just did right there. Why? Because I'm a crazy person. All I do is just sit around and read articles all day on this stuff and study this crap for a living. I have no life.
Well, no, and I completely agree with your assessment. I think that, you nailed it, that you have to remember that you, I, our listeners, I don't know if we would consider ourselves the average voter. I think we're a lot more engaged with what's going on.
Oh, absolutely.
But you have the optics of, Trump talking about the lowest employment history since 1939, and the stock market's at an all-time high, and all this stuff going on. So he's building it himself. You see what I'm saying? So his actions, and again, I don't want to come across as a never Trumper. I'm hardly that at all, right? But what I am saying is that there are going to be these examples of things happening. He needs to get back to the negotiating table. We've specifically have mentioned and laid out that a lot of, even if he places these tariffs, a lot of American companies are dependent upon a lot of these internal guts of whatever they make, these parts that are manufactured in China. So it's not necessarily the entire washer, dryer, vehicle, whatever, everything else. It's what specialty items that China is producing that could be harming American manufacturers. So he needs to get back to negotiating tables, talk about what's happening, long term, because again, the manipulators, the people that control things, we gave him this warning, several months ago, talking about that the last thing that they could do is attempt to try to pull the plug on the economy, trying to affect the midterms or potentially the 2020 election be.
Absolutely, man. And let's tie that in real quick. Sears is finally done, Siege. I have no place to park my car. Every time I go to a mall, the best place to find parking was Sears, because nobody went in there. Now what am I going to do, Siege? What am I going to do now?
And this is a perfect example of mismanagement. You talk about a company who continued to, instead of restructuring, by far, when you look at Sears product line, I think of automotive. I think the Sears Die-Hard battery at one time was probably one of the best-selling batteries in America. They're known for their Craftsman tools, Sears Craftsman tools. If they really could have specialized and took those segments of their business, instead of trying to become everything and bringing in major appliances and all the newest edge technology, expanding the amount of debt that they needed to sustain their massive footprints, they probably could have spun off and become a very competitive hardware store or a tool manufacturer, tool provider. But instead, they ignored those just by shedding and cutting stores, just hoping that the sales would pick up. But last time I went to a Sears store, it was completely devastated. The store was unshoppable. I'm talking about clothes on the floor, boxes on the floor, it was almost unshoppable, just for the fact that they just cut and they streamlined labor just so much. So this is their own demise. This is a company that failed to, almost a blockbuster moment, that failed to evolve with today's retailer. And yes, you can blame Amazon online sales for that, but they really could have taken, again, their automotive section, whether it's, we're trying to remain competitive with the diehard battery, maybe their auto service centers, tied in with their Sears Craftsman tools, which, I know that for the most part, I think I've been in any garage, and every garage has, Craftsman tools, but instead they just continue the same thing. So yeah, their sales are significantly down. They can't sustain the debt that they're amounting to, and now their investors, their holdings or companies are saying, "Hey, look, we need to figure out. We need to hire a bankruptcy firm to help us navigate through that." So yeah, so this is their demise. B.
It is, man. I mean, that's what happens. That's what happens when you try to be Best Buy, Home Depot, and Walmart. It's just weird. Sears is just a weird store. It's you have clothing that's like middle of the range. It's not cheaper than what you can get at a Target, but it's not as expensive and as nice. It's just always flirted with the middle. You get better, on average, better electronics or televisions than you could get at a typical Walmart years ago. Not anymore. But you're not as high end as a Best Buy.
I think their CEO is going to try to bring back the catalog to save the company.
I think so. I think he's going to bring back the catalog, the 3,000 page phone book that they mail to your house. Here's a Sears catalog. We get tools. It was so weird, man. I'm a watch collector, and I couldn't believe this, but Sears online is selling Tudor watches. I'm like, how the hell is that happening? Why are you selling $5,000 watches on a Sears? This is what I'm saying. It's like you sell the $10 piece of crap watch, but then you have like the $4,000 or $5,000 Tudor Black Bay GMT. I mean, what's going on here? There's no cohesivity. Like, what's your market? Like, if I'm shopping for a Tudor Black Bay GMT, which I am, coincidentally, CJ, I am looking for this watch, and I do want to buy it after I procure my Omega Speedmaster Man on the effing moon, the moon watch. Ugh, one of my grail pieces I gotta get. But and I don't want the gray market. I want the full box. I want the full effect, right? So if I'm shopping Tudor, and I have a Black Bay already, but I want the GMT, and I'm shopping it, right? Why the hell would I even consider Sears? Like, who's going to go look for Sears? That's not going to be on anybody's search. And that's the problem. They're just such a weird company. Like, are you a hardware store? Are you selling, and then you sell garden supplies, and you got the garden supplies next to, like, the flat screen TVs, which is right next to children's clothing. Like, what? It's weird, man. And the children's clothing is next to the car batteries and the motor oil. It's weird. So Sears is dying, and honestly, it's about time. Good. We had a good run. We had a good run back in the 80s. That was it. You guys were dying since then, man. Dying since then. Anyway. With that being said, also, man, we have let's break this down. We have Jared and Ivanka. They're going to pick the next ambassador. How lovely, CJ. These two wonderkins. These two wonderkins are going to pick the next UN. Who's it going to be, Siege?
Well, there's some speculation that she's in consideration of a handful, and we all know the history of Dina Habib Powell. Who's basically another, Huma Abedin, and who she networks with and who she runs around with. Let's hope that this is an error, that she is not being, considered for UN ambassador. However, she does play very heavy with Ivanka, and Jared runs in the same social networks. They speak very highly of her. So I guarantee you that that's why she's even any consideration. But yeah, so it could go from bad to worse in Nikki, with Nikki Haley resigning. We'll see.
She was part of HR McNuggets. y'all remember the former guy, H.R. McNuggets, aka H.R. McMasters, right? H.R. McMasters, who says Islamic terrorism has nothing to do with Islam, despite the numerous Islamic text teachings that incite Muslims to wage war against unbelievers. McNuggets went so far as to claim that devout jihadis were irreligious. Did you know that? So the jihadis who would have the Aloha snack bars, and they'll, face down, facing Mecca, say their 5 prayers, then get into a van filled with explosives and blow up a truck stop somewhere, is not religious. McNuggets forced out superb KT McFarland from her role as Deputy National Security Advisor and inserted Dina Habib Powell, former Bush gatekeeper whose pals included Huma Abedin, Valerie Jarrett. You are who you roll with, man. You are who you roll with. You know what I'm saying? Like, see, if I hung out with guys who were like serial killers, you would think that I'm either crazy or I'm a serial killer myself, right?
One of the two.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If I mean, think about it. If you were like a dude and you hung out with nothing but like all your friends were like registered sex offenders, dude, either you're a pedo or there's something seriously wrong with you, or you're completely naive. So Dina's hanging out with Valerie and Uma. What does that tell you about Dina? You think this you think this little idiot has any understanding of how the world really works? Huh? No. Habib Powell had attended the iftar dinner with members of the Muslim Brotherhood. Oh, wasn't that nice, Sish?
That was nice of her.
Who is the Muslim Brotherhood? That's the CIA. So this girl is a sheep-dipped swamp creature. And who, pray tell, CJ, who are the two that are cheering for this swamp creature to be in office?
Well, I guarantee you that Hillary would probably love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's none other than Mr. J. Crew War Collection himself, the Kush, and Ivanka, who just doesn't know anything. Girl, just stick to managing buildings and running your fashion line, and go back to private life. You two kids are just out of your league, completely out of your league. Anyway, Siege, last but not least, I think it's an important breakdown. Why don't you do the little intro for this, and I'll jump in, bro. Future of Western democracy being played out in Brazil. Siege, we have to. We got to keep getting. We got to try our best, man. We got to get Pepe Escobar. Tell him I'll pay him. Pay him.
I think the last email address when I brought it up, it came back as I'll have to do some digging and figure out how to connect with him, either Twitter or
and don't no more death threats, okay?
Come on, or else.
Come on.
Yeah,
man.
so it's interesting what's being played out in Brazil specifically because, I mean, has there ever not been turmoil in Brazil? Has there ever? I mean,
the land of peace and plenty.
Has there ever been any type of stable government? And you think that things couldn't go again from bad to worse, but now we have a very militant person who's trying to being played out as a conservative, more extreme right in his beliefs, as that he probably would utilize the military. Almost kind of reminds me of our Venezuela. Gosh darn it, I can't remember his name for some crazy reason, but it kind of reminds me of that. He wants a dictatorship, established in Brazil. But it's interesting to see this played out. So the military dictatorship of last century, who's been normalized as the extreme right candidate, won the first round of the presidential election on Sunday with 49 million votes. That was 40% of the total, just shy of the outright vote needed for the win. This is in itself a jaw-dropping development. His opponent, Fernando Haddad of the Workers' Party, only received 31 million votes, or 29%. He will now face Bolsonaro in a runoff on October 28th. And again, this is no Trump. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, he's the equivalent of Trump. And I've seen that even in US media. That's not true. This guy, V jump into it. Apparently the person who the people want to run the country is jailed currently, sitting in jail on corruption charges. So
Dilma Rousseff. Brazil is a very interesting country. Okay, it's a very interesting country. It's beautiful, lush. It's known for its lush rainforests, the tropics, some of the most beautiful women on God's green earth. But Brazil has a serious problem. Okay. When you look at Brazil, geographically, the country simply cannot grow economically. What do I mean by that? You might say. You might say, what do you mean? When you look at Brazil, folks, excuse me one second, I'm going to take a sip of water. I have that Hillary Clinton cough coming. Hold on one second. Let me break down Pepe's article, and then I'll tell you why Brazil is in a whole heap of trouble. It's just certain countries geographically cannot progress. You only have a handful of cities in Brazil that do very well, and each one of those cities is separated by some of the most treacherous terrain possible. So the free flow of goods and services and the expansion of infrastructure is a very, very difficult thing to do in Brazil. Why do you think you have 1 billion favelas built on top of Rio de Janeiro on the mountainside and on the cliffside and on the hillside? Why do you think that is? Because there's no room. Because you have a country that has landlocked cities that are surrounded by some of the most treacherous ground anywhere in the world. Very hard to build highways, very hard to connect them, very hard to build up infrastructure and to really expand and have a growth population. It's into this pressure cooker you have also some of the cultural and racial nuances, as well as ideological nuances. Pepe Escobar writes this: Dystopia Central does not even begin to qualify it. Progressive Brazilians are terrified of facing a mutant Brazil. Right? Cum Mad Max wasteland ravaged by evangelical fanatics, rapacious neoliberal casino capitalists, and a rabid military bent on recreating dictatorship 2.0. Not to mention that this is a country, folks, that is rife with corruption from the foundation to the topmost stone. Bolsonaro, a former paratrooper, is being depicted by Western mainstream media as essentially the tropical Trump. Why don't you love that? He's the tropical Trump, Bolsonaro. The facts are way more complex. Bolsonaro, a mediocre member of Congress for 27 years, no highlights on his CV. His curriculum vitae, or as we in the United States call the resume, indiscriminately demonizes blacks, the LGBT community, the left as a whole, the environment, a scam, and most of all, the poor. He's avowedly pro-torture. He marks himself as a messiah, a fantastical avatar coming to save Brazil from all those sins from above. The goddess of the market predictably embraces him as quote-unquote investors. Those semi-divine entities deem him good for the market, with his last-minute offensive into the polls mirroring a rally in the Brazilian real and the Sao Paulo Stock Exchange. The Brazilian real is a currency in crisis. I don't need to go into that. That's another sideshow. Bolsonaro may be your classic extreme right savior in the Nazi mold. He may embody right populism to the core, but he's definitely not a sovereigntist. So he's playing on something here. The model of choice in political debate across the West, his quote-unquote sovereign Brazil, would be more like a retro military dictatorship, totally subordinated to Washington's whims. Sounds familiar? Bolsonaro's ticket is compounded by a barely literate retired general as his running mate, a man who is ashamed of his mixed-race background and is frankly pro-eugenics. General Antonio Hamilton Mourão has even revived the idea of a military coup. Manipulating the ticket, we find massive economic interests tied to what? Mineral wealth, agribusiness, and most of all, the Brazilian Bible Belt. It is a complete with death squads against native Brazilians, landless peasants, and Afro-South American communities. It is a haven for the weapons industry, call it the apotheosis of tropical neo-Pentecostal Christian Zionism. Oh, geez, what a wonderful place. Brazil has 42 million evangelicals and over 200 representatives in both branches of parliament. Don't mess with their jihad. They know how to exercise massive appeal amongst beggars at the neoliberal banquets. The Lula left simply didn't know how to seduce them. So even with the echoes of Mike Pence, Bolsonaro is the Brazilian Trump, only to the certain extent that his communication skills, talking tough, simplisticality, is language understandable to a 7-year-old. Educated Italians compare him to Matteo Salvini, the Lega leader, now Minister of Interior, but that's also not exactly the case. Bolsonaro is the symptom of a much larger disease. He's only reached this level head-to-head in the second round against Lula's candidate, Haddad, because of a sophisticated rolling multi-stage judicial, congressional, business, media hybrid war unleashed upon Brazil. Way more complex than any color revolution. Hybrid war in Brazil features a lawfare coup under the cover of the car wash anti-corruption investigation that led to the impeachment of Dilma Rousseff and Lula being thrown in jail on corruption charges with no hard evidence or smoking gun. In every poll, Lula would win these elections hands down. The coup plotters managed to imprison him and prevent him from running. Lula's right to run was highlighted by everyone from Pope Francis to UN Human Rights Council, as well as Noam Chomsky. Yet in a delightful historical twist, the coup's plotters scenario blew up in their faces as the frontrunner to the lead of the country is not one of them, but a neo-fascist. Even Wall Street and the City of London, which endorsed the hybrid war in Brazil, have started entertaining second thoughts on supporting Bolsonaro for president of a BRICS nation, which is a leader of the global south until a few years ago was on its way to becoming the 5th largest economy in the world. It hangs on to vote transfer mechanism from Lula to Haddad. All right, so what the hell is this article about Pepe? I'm going to break it down for you. Bolsonaro is a nobody. He has no record. He has no accomplishments to his creed. Bolsonaro is right now involved in destabilizing the BRICS. Bolsonaro, more than likely, he talks sovereignty, but he's not sovereignty. His ties are to Wall Street. His ties are to the City of London. His military ties are to the deep state right here in Washington, D.C. Bolsonaro is a creature. He is a subordinate of the swamp. Folks, it is about containment. Who's winning right now in trade in Brazil? Well, it's China. Who's winning in trade in Colombia? It's China. Who's winning in trade in Bolivia? It's China. Who is winning in trade in Chile? That happens to be China. China's making all sorts of inroads. Heck, even in Venezuela. We can't have this. See, the deep state curmudgeons who are supposedly out of power and running for their lives, CJ, if you read some chat boards and some certain chat rooms and some certain internet sites where another alphabetarian gives you a whole... See, you ever wonder when Dina Powell gets in? How's Q going to explain that, bro? You ever think about that?
Oh, no. I don't know how that's... No, not at all. No.
Exactly. Because when some of the worst people get in, trust. Well, we're going to trust Dina Powell. Trust Dina Powell. Yeah. Sure. I'll trust a rabid raccoon more than I trust Dina Powell. So this Bolsonaro character is a deep state crony. His mission, his job, is to appeal to what? And this is what's so dangerous. You have a huge swath right now of evangelical Pentecostal Brazilians. Huge swath. Very, very. It's like the Bible Belt down there, right? Guess what? Every single one of those who Bolsonaro appeals to, they are all... You go to any Pentecostal church, apart from the hooting and the hollering and the backflips that occur all the time, right? When they back... You ever seen... You've seen Blues Brothers, right?
Right, yeah.
You should have seen when James Belushi's like doing backflips down the aisle of the church.
Yeah.
Well, that's like your typical Pentecostal church, man. And you got the speaking in tongues going, Haka Messiah, here come a Honda, there goes Chevy, right? So I'm offending some people, I'm sorry. But so anyway, you have that belt. And what is one thing that these the charismaniacs and the evangelicals, what is the one country? What are the two countries they believe is God's divine right on this planet? Siege. What are the two countries that are absolutely gaga over?
Israel and what's the second one? Oh yeah,
it's us.
Sorry, yeah.
Right. So you got a bunch of Anglo-Zionists there. This is not going to play out well, and you got to understand this is all happening against the backdrop of a country whose infrastructure just can't expand anymore. It is a very, very unique situation. It is a way that this whole entire pressure that's being built there is going to backfire big. It's a destabilization move, man. Nothing more.
Big
destabilization
time.
move.
Big time.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, with that being said, Siege, we're at anything else we want to cover, man? Do we hit everything?
No, I was going to cover something to be mean, but
no, go ahead. Cover.
No, okay, I think I will. Yeah. Well, in Twitter news, we're rest assured by Ivanka that it was an honor to serve the White House alongside so many great colleagues, and I know that the president will nominate a formidable replacement for Ambassador Haley, and that replacement will not be me. So she has turned down the offer to be ambassador.
Oh, thank God.
That's it.
At the end of the day, I mean, what she's going to say anyway? It's just Ivana. She needs to just go back into private life and be the beautiful woman that she is. That's it. Anyway. We're at the end of the show, folks. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe for hard-hitting political analysis brought to you by us. We are the 1-2 punch. Follow us on Twitter at Real Rogue Money, at Real Rogue News. And check us out, roguenews.com. And with that being said, we are over and out. Take it away, CJ. We got Harley at 12:30 today. Do you have Harley today?
Harley just requested a bounce to Friday, literally less than 5 minutes ago.
You probably have Gus with Gus today. So take it away, CJ.